This is a Restless Music podcast, Shining Rails, Episode 2, by Keith Foster from his memoir, My Early Days in the Railways.
How do we explain our love of steam? For something that is so universal, many have tried, but I feel that it is a very personal thing. Therefore, I will speak from my own experience as to how this love came about. As a very young child on a farm, I remember the sounds and smell of the steam traction engines which came to do the threshing or straw pressing. Later in Ballarat, I lived close to a man who did this work. He had 2 traction engines, and each year in the harvest season I would see one departing down the road, hauling a threshing machine. Like a train behind this was the workman's hut, followed by the water cart, and bringing up the rear like a vertical guards van was the dunny. We kids followed this slow procession on many occasions. The City Council's steamroller was another of my early influences, as I watched it ripping up the road and later rolling it flat. When I was about 10, I wrote an essay and won a model stationary steam engine and boiler, and this gave me many happy hours of hands-on experience, and it was probably then that I became ensnared by steam engines. Later, driving steam hammers brought me the smell of hot cylinder oil, and eventually I fired steam locomotives. Locomotives have some characteristics that are probably unknown to drivers of stationary engines. All steam engines use the natural elements of fire, water, air, heat and pressure. These may make them appear alive when in use. Some feel that they have a soul, but I don't agree. However, locomotives, although they use these same elements, entail others such as varying loads and speeds, weather, gradients, track conditions and timetables, quality of the coal, the skill of the crew, and of course the condition of the engine itself. At times, combinations of these make them appear to possess human and sometimes very undesirable characteristics. Just like people, some have an even temperament, some are cranky and stubborn, some are okay one day and not the next. Some will work happily and steam freely, others need to be cajoled or spoon-fed, and some will give you the greatest battle of your life in getting the job done by fighting you every step of the way. But like the sea, you can't fight them and win. You must work with them. Some drivers who do this can get the best out of them, and some drivers, when forced to, can even flog an engine unmercifully and still get a result, whilst others cannot. With the right treatment, an engine may, although not always, respond. Never if grossly mismanaged. Amidst the clattering, heavy-breathing symphony of sounds of a working loco, some real engine men, not just mere train drivers, will have their head out, ears listening to the beat of the exhaust and for a blow of steam from a piston gland or valve spindle, and probably other sounds known only to them. Their noses sniffing for the overheated bearing. They listen to what the engine is telling them. All is well, or sometimes maybe it is not. For a fireman, knowing the road is half the battle, for his own sake, that of the driver, and for the engine's disposition, all of them hopefully working in harmony for a successful trip. Locomotives talk to you in other ways. I'll explain how. Picture the atmosphere of a dark, gloomy, smoky, soot-begrimed loco shed at about 3 a.m. on a Monday in 1939. It is ill-lit because the few lights are soot-begrimed too. I started at 11 p.m. and am alone in the shed, deputising for one of our lighters-up who is on holiday. There are about 20 locos around the 2 turntables. Some were in steam when I arrived, and others are cold, silent and lifeless like giant sculptures. A couple have their entrails displayed. They are in for minor repairs, and some of those that I've already lit up are just starting to make steam. They complain at being awakened, making quiet, grumbling, creaking, hissing or gurgling sounds. As I plod about checking fires and water gauges, they talk to me in this way, and as if to get my attention, one makes a loud crack like a rifle shot. This is caused by expansion of the boiler as it heats up. The firebox end has moved slightly on its slides. It frightens the life out of me in the dark because I'm right beside it when it happens. Whilst I'm having my meal, there is a low, ghostly moaning starting somewhere in the shed. My vivid imagination runs riot, but it is only a leaking whistle valve, and as its engine just starts to make steam, it goes "Ooh," very softly but continuously. There are sudden trickles of hot water from cylinder cocks and a myriad of other little unexplained noises, some of which can sound like footsteps, but no one is there. The engines are still talking to me as daylight starts to filter into the gloomy shed. I light up a couple more. Crews and shed-men start to arrive, and soon there is activity as engines are prepared for the road. Sounds of shovelling, the clang of the old-style drop-down firebox doors, the panting of single-stage air compressors, and perhaps the ascending whine of a turbo generator. This engine's crew is fortunate to have one of the few with electric lighting. There is movement as engine wheels thump onto the turntable. In a few moments a short toot, a hissing and gentle puffing as an engine departs. Soon it will be heading a train, roaring its rail talk, with driving wheels and rods pounding, shouting, yes, literally shouting to the world it is passing through, its whistle blast echoing in the frosty morning air. But I am not part of this today. In the shed, it is 7 a.m, time for me to go home. It is the engine's soft whisperings, hissings and mutterings that are in my ears as I sign off. Don't tell me they can't talk. Oh well, maybe they can't, but they do communicate, not only by sound but by smell and the very sight of them. This is what made me love them. What a privilege to have known them all those years ago.
Past midnight on a Monday morn, in the shed the engines sleep. In the lull before the storm, engines waiting calm and meek. Some are cold and others warm, fires banked their steam to keep. In silence now before the dawn, like tired men, the engines sleep. Like tired men, the engines sleep. A lighter up is on his rounds, engines stir with hiss and creak. He hears the gentle groaning sounds, water drips, relief cocks leak. A whistle moaning soft and low, the steam is raised and boilers creak. The sun will hear those whistles blow, but not just now. The engines sleep. Not just now. The engines sleep. Soon the dawn will break again, lighting up the gloomy sheds. Soon the sleepy railwaymen will rise and shine from cozy beds. Boiler makers, fitters, cleaners, men to stoke and men to sweep, tend the needs of engines sleep, but not just now. The engines sleep. Soon they'll stir as crews arrive, shovels scrape and fires glow. They'll make their charges come alive, make the whispering whistles blow. But now the locos stand in peace, slumbering in darkness deep, until the day brings their release in eerie gloom. The engines sleep in eerie gloom. The engines sleep. Tenders running low on coal, sleepers waken from a dream. Just another railway soul, blowing skyward with the steam. When my life has reached the end, as on the wind the embers leap, just ashes on the fire, my friend, in a ghostly shed where the engines sleep. Some ghostly shed where the engines sleep. The engines sleep. The engines sleep.
You have been listening to Shining Rails, Episode 2, The Engines Sleep, by Keith Foster, from his memoir, My Early Days in the Railways, written for the newsletter of the Steam Locomotive Society of Victoria. Keith Foster was a Victorian railwayman, musician, writer and community broadcaster. Narration and production by Roger Eilert. The song The Engines Sleep was written by Keith Foster, Penny Davies and Roger Eilert, and performed by Penny Davies and Roger Eilert with Jordan Eilert. This has been a Restless Music podcast.